YouTube, I'm back with a new motorcycle. Took a little bit of a hiatus waiting for this motorcycle to come in. Video about the new cycle in a little bit. But today's video I've wanted to do for a long time. It actually something personal to me because I used to live somewhat close to where this historical event took place. And the reason I wanted to do these videos is because stuff like this, they never teach you in school. They'll never tell you about local history. So this is my way of giving back, giving to the historical community, trying to let people know of what's really going on or what had gone on around their area. And today's video is a Revolutionary War mystery in Cumberland County. Still to this day, after research and investigation, still no one knows what exactly happened here. And that's where I'm going to be taking you today. So the beginning of the story for what happened here in South Jersey actually starts in Philadelphia.
So this is what we're going to be calling the Philadelphia account. Written by the New Jersey Gazette, it reads as follows. August 29th. Last week, 7 refugees were brought to town from New Jersey. They were taken a few days before near the bridge in Maurice River by some of the Jersey militia in a shallop, which they attempted to board when a sharp contest ensued, during which 4 of the refugees were killed and 4 wounded. When the rest submitted, there were 15 in all, and it is said the captain, who was very badly wounded, called out they would give no quarters, which occasioned the action to become desperate. Providentially, one of the militia received only a slight wound. Now, in this article, the refugees would be loyalists.
Now, the Philadelphia account is straight to the point. Facts only, doesn't give much detail other than the refugees, pretty much when it happened, which is a week before the writing of that article. However, a second account by Barber and Howe found a Thomas Beasley, and this is his account of it.
So the Barber and Howe account was written 64 years after the incident, and it mentions that the annexed brief account of an action in Maurice River opposite Port Norris is from a paper published in August 29th, 1781. The top part of the paragraph, even though it adds detail, is mostly taken from the Philadelphia account. The bottom half is new information. The following additional particulars of this event are derived from Mr. Thomas Beasley of Cape May, then a boy and a witness to the action. The brunt of the fighting was sustained by Captain Riggins and John Peterson, several of the militia having, at the commencement, jumped overboard and swam ashore, while others sneaked into the cabin. Riggins killed 4 or 5 of the enemy on their attempting to board. He fired his musket twice and then made such good use of the breech that at the end of the contest there was little left besides the barrel. Peterson was wounded by one of the refugees, who thereupon was about finishing him by cleaving his head open with an uplifted broadsword, when his little son shot the man dead. Every refugee not killed was wounded, and some desperately. A boy only escaped, and a fox which was brought on board the day previous by one of the slain, who had joined them at the mouth of the river. There were a number of fowls on board, all of which were killed. The brave Captain Riggins lived a good old age, having died only a few years since. So this gives a little more detail as of what happened during the fight. I mean, it shows that Captain Riggins used the butt or the stock of his musket to bludgeon to the point where the stock had broken off and he only had a barrel left in his hand. But it mentions the names Captain Riggins and John Peterson.
So in the Barber and Howe account, it mentions that the incident happened across from Port Norris. In front of me, the historians believe would have been a bridge that would have gone across the Maurice River, the same bridge that was mentioned in the Philadelphia account. However, they don't know for sure if this is the actual location of the bridge. They don't even know if this is the actual location down here in Port Norris that the incident happened. However, Barber and Howe mention it. Now, the Barber and Howe account, when Thomas Beasley mentioned two people, a Captain James Riggins and a John Peterson. We know John Peterson was a part of the militia, the New Jersey militia. Captain James Riggins was a part of the Cumberland County militia. However, we know that he wasn't at this battle because he was on the prison ship in New York Harbor, the Old Jersey. And we have pension records to prove it.
James Riggins' Revolutionary War pension papers clearly state on April 1781 he was captured while sailing from Philadelphia back down the Delaware River and into the Delaware Bay. He wasn't released until 1782. So either his pension papers are incorrect, or possibly the Philadelphia account is incorrect, because if both the Philadelphia and these pension papers are accurate, James Riggins would have never been at that battle. Historians have gone to great lengths reviewing historical maps, looking for some kind of correlation between Dallas's Ferry or Dallas's Landing, now called Port Norris, and the bridge mentioned in the Philadelphia account. Some of these drawings from 1812 and 1833 show Dallas's Ferry and then show Port Norris. In the 1833, it shows a road that goes from Leesburg to the Maurice River, and from Port Norris, another road seemingly connecting on either side, suggesting that there was, at one point, a bridge there. Otherwise, there's no reason for there to be the two roads intersecting, except for maybe a ferry. However, they're pinpointing, or they're trying to pinpoint, that Port Norris would have been the actual location of this battle. So a third account of the skirmish comes from a Wisconsin newspaper, and it mentions some interesting things. For example, where I'm at right now, Maddox Landing, now called Morristown. Mentions a doctor that was actually a doctor here in South Jersey, and it mentions the Cumberland County Jail in Bridgeton, which I don't know how a Milwaukee newspaper from the 1800s even knows about that, except maybe if a relative of a witness moved out to Wisconsin. The Daily Milwaukee News goes into dramatic detail over the incident, but written 82 years after the incident, we don't know how much is accurate. We do have mention of Captain Riggins again, John Peterson, and a Dr. Hampton. The doctor was a doctor in the area during the time of the incident. And as previously mentioned, it does note that the surviving prisoners were sent to the county jail in Bridgeton. So, conclusions. What do we know about what happened here? Well,
we know that there was a skirmish. James Riggins probably wasn't involved. However, his name pops up several times. We know that there was a lot of loyalists in this area, particularly in Down Township. Here's a article about that. There's mention of other piracy, criminal activity here in South Jersey, specifically one account of the Black Snake in the Delaware Bay. I don't believe that this was a one-time thing, even though it was publicized. My conclusion is that the Cumberland County Militia was patrolling these waters. They would go up and down the Maurice River and patrol for this criminal activity. And that's what led up to the Battle of the Lower Maurice River.
So I have two accounts from the history of the counties, Gloucester, Salem, and Cumberland, New Jersey. One of the accounts in Down Township states that the number of Tories was proportionally larger than in any other part of the county. The temptation of British gold, a powerful temptation when the currency then in use had depreciated. And it explains how General Newcomb sent a detachment of militia into Down and arrested 15 people. Basically, Down Township is very close to Port Norris and Morristown. Another account from the same book lists the battle at the top portion at Dallas Landing or Port Norris, and on the bottom part it explains the Black Snake in the Delaware River, basically a British vessel. They would rob and pillage coastal towns. In fact, the top part above the portion explaining the Battle of Port Norris, during the presence of British fleet in the Delaware Bay, parties from them came ashore in search of provisions and plundered the houses of some of the residents near the shore. So we have these accounts, and I've also heard of accounts of moon cursors, which are thieves that would sit on the beaches of the Delaware Bay, and they would string lanterns in the shape of a ship and bring out a ship mast. They would signal to passing boats that they were in trouble. The boats would then run ashore. They would go in smaller boats or wade out in the water and board these boats and take plunder from these boats. Also, in another video I'm going to do, Fairfield Township is a hive of criminal activity at one point. So all of these small towns along the Delaware Bay of Cumberland County are very lawless. It's not hard to imagine that either British privateers or, impoverished people are, using violent tactics to try to, gain supplies, gain some kind of currency. And these articles prove it, that they are, pillaging, that the Delaware Bay is not a very, friendly place. I mean, even our Captain Riggins was taken by the British in the Delaware River.
Now exactly who was involved is still up for debate. We know that Captain Riggins, or James Riggins, was a prisoner at the time. John Peterson could have been here. We don't know the names of any of the loyalists. All that we have is the Philadelphia account, which we believe is a concrete article and piece of documentation, a piece of history that we can rely on and go back to and say, this is first-hand account, or is it? It might be third-hand account for all we know, because in the Philadelphia account, it's written Maurice, M-O-R-R-I-S, which, if you can't already tell, South Jerseyans call it Morris. So someone from Philadelphia could have easily taken the word of one of the jailers that came up there to drop off these prisoners as M-O-R-R-I-S and not the actual correct spelling of Morris. So the Philadelphia account in itself could be third hand. Could it have actually happened a week before the prisoners were dropped off in Philadelphia? Could it have happened when James Riggins was still active in the militia before he was taken prisoner? It's a lot of speculation. It's up for a lot of debate. What exactly happened here? Even the location of the bridge, even though there's a bridge in front of us, I mean, this bridge, the old one, wasn't built until 1888. The one across from us is new. The historical records show that there might have been a bridge at Dallas's Landing. Otherwise, the only other bridge would have been in Millville. So, did the battle happen farther upstream? Archaeologists haven't found any kind of artifacts from the time of the battle. No muskets, no cannon, no sunken ships that would have been used as the shallop in the Philadelphia account. No bridge. There's no bridge down in Port Norris that connects one side of the river to the other. So did it happen on the southern part of the Maurice River? So all the links for all the research is down in the description, all the source information. In fact, most of the research I didn't do myself. Cumberland County Historical Society, I believe his name is Dr. Hunter, actually did the majority of the work, if not all the work. I'm just reiterating most of the stuff that they were saying. Links to their findings also down in the description. And of course, if you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe.